And we are now recording. Hi, welcome to the bonus roll. This is pre-game stream, not stream. This is pre-game recording to Zizaba's character, Ingrid, Madhouse. If you're seeing this, you've been generous enough to sign up for our Patron, and thank you for your support. Your support. Wow, I am just tripping over every word today. Hopefully, we'll get that straightened out soon. How you doing, morning? How you doing, honey?
I'm doing good. I'm playing Ingrid Corvidae, and okay, this feedback's too bad.
Okay, go ahead, take it off. Something that hopefully none of y'all will find out about if you're not a patron is that Zizaba and I have our computers in the same room because we're husband and wife, and so it creates some interesting, like, oh wait, I'm hearing you on my headset and hearing you here, I'm hearing myself, and I'm interrupting myself situations that we're still working on. Early days, that's to be expected with a problem or two. Anyway, go ahead, Ziz.
So I'm playing Ingrid Corvidae. She is a warlock who ended up joining the Golgari Swarm. So, lives in the Undercity. And so we've kind of gone over some of her background ahead of time, like pact and stuff like that. So this is kind of just her introductory to y'all.
So, Ingrid's patron's not like, the standard fiend or old one that you see a lot of, like, the base warlocks run with. You were actually running with the
Undying?
The Undying patron out of the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide. And warlocks are one of the few classes that start with their actual archetype being their patron at the first level. So everyone else is going to have to climb to tier 2 or 3 before they get to pick their archetype, but we already know whose name is on Ingrid's contract. I think, that's about it. Again, thank you all for your support. We really appreciate it, and we hope you enjoy this pre-game session 2, Madhouse. So, Dizal 5th, 76. It's about 4 weeks prior to the events of the first stream game. Getting into the mode. It's been about 3 years of coming down here into this dark caverns far, far away from where you grew up. You've relocated to the 4th district now. Your tenement is survivable. It has a nice little area for you to keep your stuff. Your roommate is fairly decent to spend time with. It doesn't cause a lot of trouble. You spend a lot of time out of the place anyway, but that's not where you are right now. You're staying in a dark cavern. Tall trees scraping against the cavern top. Dead foliage drifting slowly down around them while shells of mushrooms grow up along the bark. They radiate this deep necrotic energy that seeps into your bones and makes your joints ache. Cold mist fills the room, settling down into a thick, nearly opaque layer. Ahead of you, the tunnel twists and winds into the large opening that you've gone to many times before. You know inside there is the mansion where she is at. She's called you again here today, as she does every few weeks. You can feel that in your body, in your heart, in something more ethereal, her hunger growing. Go ahead and make me a wisdom saving throw.
Okay. And just double check. It's 4. I came up with a whopping 6 with my +4.
The mist clings to you, and as you move through it, you feel almost like hands grasping at you, pulling at your clothes, dragging you down, or at least trying to. It slows your movement, but it doesn't stop you, and it doesn't hurt or really strike you as a warning to stop. You've seen this before, the world reacting to her hunger.
And this would be the Corpse Grove where I first met her, right?
You're currently in the Corpse Grove, yes, at the outer limits of it. About 15 minutes of walking from the edge of the rock farm that is between the rest of the Undercity and her mansion.
Okay, well, I'm heading up, and Watcher, the pseudo dragon, is on my shoulder. Seems actually rather anxious to go forward. He's craning his head, and
Watcher settles into his perch, his little red-gray claws pricking at your shoulder a little, his long tail looping around your neck, the dagger-shaped bone protrusion at the tip of his tail resting just slightly against the edge of your throat. Not menacingly, but a reminder that he's there and that he is not 100% yours. You continue on through the little winding path that you know so well, through this grove of dead and undead trees, coming to a little break in the stone wall and a slight squeeze as you push your way through it into the next chamber reveals this 2-story old decrepit mansion. It's dark mahogany and other wood features appearing weak from time, but yet having this sense of timeless weight to them that does not yield to any of the mundane aspects of this world. There is a figure standing silent guard on the porch in front of the main entryway. A dark-skinned elf with short platinum hair stands at silent attention, a sharp curved blade resting easily in his hand as he waits.
have I seen him before?
You do not specifically recognize him, but you have seen guards here before. It's not uncommon for the higher level erstwhiles to have their own personal guards, and your patron certainly warrants it.
Are their own personal warlocks. So I go up and I make a sweeping bow, and I'm like, I'm here to check in with the lady.
He kind of looks at you, and he doesn't say anything. He just makes a slight incline of his head and gestures at the doorway.
I proceed. I imagine the dragon is sending a picture too to check in. Something like a memory of him and the lady together.
Watcher has this quiet memory that he shares with you of various faceless guards standing in that place with the pseudo dragon perched on a wrap on a overhang or a rocky outcropping or just crouching in the low mist that perpetually fills this area and observing. Through the doorway, you enter into the main hall, and the opulence just as every time takes your breath. A grand sweeping collection of archaic treasures from literally centuries ago are artfully arranged around the room, each and every one showing that same age and resistance to time that the manor itself shows. A pair of sweeping stairs leads from the foyer to the upper reaches of the house, while four doorways at the lower level branch out throughout the manor. But you don't have to go far. As you step in, a robed figure starts to descend from the second level down to the first, moving slowly with a grace that is wholly without any basis in nature. Palpable waves of dark energy rolling across your body like soft touches of an invisible hand. My child, thank you for coming. I have become hungry again.
I'm here to keep the call.
She continues down the stairway and one hand reaches out to touch a banister, not to steady herself, but to feel the texture of the wood under her fingers. And you have a glimpse of her old, pale skin, not wrinkled, but instead taut, as if every year has drawn it tightly against her bones. She steps down those last few steps and turns to look at you fully in the face, and you can look upon the visage of Aurora Urbana, the mistress of the corpse grove. She takes a few more gliding steps towards you and reaches out that same pale hand to gently caress your cheek. Her features something a mix of plain, ordinary that would blend into the crowd and still yet marked by this ineffable, impenetrable calmness, a separation from everything that could possibly worry a person or cause distress seems to have fallen away, leaving her this transcendent mask as she looms above you, her gray eyes sparkling with a low burning hunger.
Well, I go ahead and approach her.
She smiles as you step closer, and she's a good 1.5 feet taller than you, though y'all
My
probably...
character's kind of short.
Hmm?
So my character's kind of short.
Yeah. She's very tall, though. So a good foot and a half easily. Though she probably does not weigh that much more than you do with how little weight there seems to be to her body. The robes around her, just a simple, plain, unadorned robes, but there's this quality of refinement to them. Like, they're not made with silk. And as you feel her looming above you and the cloth caressing, you realize that it is silk, but not silk from anything mundane as a worm or anything like that. It's silk from spiders, taken and woven together and layered on top of each other again and again and again to form this garment. And her lips spread in a slight curved smile as she looks down at you with hunger, and her mouth opens just barely, and you start to feel that familiar pull at your energy.
So Ingrid has been with her now for about 3 years, and this would be a regular visit for her. She actually gets her power from when the energy is drawn out, something of her patron settles in to replace it from her aura. So to her, it's not so much a loss since she intends to become an undying herself, but more of a source of her power at the end of it. So she's not so much freaked out by her patron as a whole, that's where I might be in 5,000 years kind of thing.
It's very much you're aware that this is as much a not a cost, but a means to an end for you. But you're not going to resist?
No.
Okay. 1 second. I did not save all the information. What's the question?
I think the reverb is tripping you up a little bit too because your word pacing has been a little.
Oh, I've been trying to vary it a little. Because this is a very different tone than Brigham's game.
But yeah, especially with her coming from a very poor background and their family dealing with issues like debt and stuff. Seeing the opulent surroundings, seeing the person who's had that long of life, who has that nobility, that definitely is something that she is aspiring towards.
Okay, there we go. That was super annoying. Okay, so we're not resisting, that's when we make a roll. Alright.
Also, I didn't know there were mechanics to this, so this is interesting.
So, as she leans over you and her jaw distends, you can see just the very pointed tips of her teeth before the shadow that fills her mouth starts to draw in this. You know what it is as it's leaving your body, and it leaves you feeling hollow and weak as more and more of your spirit is drawn into her. You take 4 points of necrotic damage,
Mm-hmm.
and your hit point maximum is reduced by that amount.
And would that be like till a long rest?
Until a long rest.
Okay. And that puts me at 7.
Yeah, you're okay. She actually rolled. She did not take nearly as much as she could have. As she consumes a portion of your very being, you feel that dark essence of hers fill you in turn, sliding into the cracks and the small places that her feeding revealed. And almost as soon as it began, it's done. And her mouth closes and a slight smile curls across her cheeks. Now, child, I have another task for you.
And what would you have me do?
There is a special one like you that I would like you to bring to me. There is neither a rush nor an unlimited amount of time like this. In an asylum on Morrow and Hill, in the deepest cell is a man who wears a face that is not his own. He is tormented by voices that only he can hear. I would have you bring this poor soul to me.
Okay, so I have the location, and do I have any did she have any information other than man in the deepest cell?
She strokes your cheek slowly and smiles gently. So, child, I would not ask this of you if I did not think it was well within your capabilities. I assure you, there is only one asylum on Borrow and Hill. And when you find the man, you will know him.
So, so Ingrid has undercity travel to leave quicker. So she's going to go ahead and use that to route up near the area so that she can route right by there to be on the surface limited time.
So you're looking for a undercity exit that'll have you near Burrow and Hill?
Yeah.
You're going to directly, you're not going to stop and do a short rest or anything like that?
Well, a short rest would
Or,
restore
sorry,
any
not
points.
short, long.
She's gonna go ahead and go case it. I mean, I am playing a 17-year-old. She's a little impulsive. She wouldn't necessarily go in and take that time right now. Now, if she was down her one spell, she might do her short rest.
All right. Go ahead and do me a survival check just to see how well you navigate through the undercity.
A non-natural 20.
Okay. So, you supplicant bow, however you normally say goodbye to Balura before backing out, and the drow kind of looks you up and down and gives a slight incline of his head, or sorry, dark elf gives a slight incline of his head.
It's kind of more a hurried goodbye usually, because she's usually more formal when approaching.
Mm-hmm.
And usually she's off on some assignment or, something when leaving. So usually she has like a quarter the formality of approaching whenever she's leaving.
It's less reverential after she's had part of her soul eaten.
Yeah, well, it's more about now she's, busy on a case or whatever.
So, you make your way out of her mansion and through this tight passageway back into the corpse grove. You wander through the forest, trailing your fingers occasionally across the mushrooms, and normally you would just continue straight through until you hit the rot farm, but you're going somewhere else and you veer off having spent years exploring the cavern system that contains this undead forest, and find another passageway through. You duck through another cave opening and emerge inside the inside of a long abandoned building that leads you out into a street that's well underground. The city works thrumming like a beating vein above your head. Not close above your head. It's a good 20 feet up between you and the pipes that carry the lifeblood of the city. But you wander along this undercity roadway, and you see a few denizens of the deep near you, other dark elves, and a few pale-skinned creatures that quickly move out of your sight as you progress. Till you find it's less of a lift and more of a platform that has been cobbled together by various people that live down here that pulls you up into lower reaches of one of the sewer systems, and from there you find an entryway up to the surface level and emerge at the lower end of Borrowing Hill. There's a bookseller's to the right-hand side and a few closed down, abandoned shops. Borrowing Hill has been having troubles as late. Plus, it's fairly late in the evening for you. It's currently closer to the dinner hour than anything else. The sun has started to wane and the moons are starting to rise in the distance.
Well, the first thing she does is uses prestidigitation to clean herself up a bit and, straighten the little bird wings at the very top of her cape.
Actually, this seems like a good time. Why don't you go ahead and give us a basic description of what Ingrid looks like?
So, Ingrid is 17. Her natural resting face is a little bit smug. Just kind of that's her natural expression. She's got braided red hair and green eyes. She's a little bit short and she's wearing leather armor currently. Her only weapon she carries is a small sickle on her belt, and she has a messenger bag over one shoulder. It is labeled to look like an alchemy bag, and it is not an alchemy bag. She has a short cape with a few bird's wings sewn on that she's found.
Okay. And resting on your shoulder, the size of a large house cat, is Watcher, the pseudo-dragon. Its tail still loosely coiled around your neck to help it balance. It's late in the evening. It's the early part of the evening as you emerge from the Undercity and give yourself a light cleaning after your trip through the sewers.
So I check which intersection I'm by. This isn't really my home district, so sometimes have to consult and walk a couple streets to get my bearings.
All right, go ahead and give me another survival check, please.
9.
9. Barwin Hill doesn't have a lot of cross streets, so you're having to walk along maybe 4 blocks before you come across an intersection labeled Mill Street. So you got Barwin Hill and Mill, which puts you closer to the Boros garrison than it does to the Islit's Guild Hall.
Okay, so do I know about how far I am from my destination?
You do not know Barwin Hill that well. It's one of the lesser used areas, but there's only two directions to go on it, really.
Okay, well, I go down one and I ask Watcher to go scan the other.
Watcher kind of looks at you and
I'm gonna miss
twice,
that pair of eyes, though.
and it uncoils the tail from around your neck, and two big flaps of wings lift it up into the air, and he is off, heading in the opposite direction. What are you having him watch for specifically?
I'm looking for the asylum or the intersection.
Okay. And you're going back the other direction?
Mm-hmm.
Alright.
Because, I mean, well, everything to my patron is not a short amount of time, but not unlimited. I would think that's pretty generic for her. Still, I mean, it did wait until she was going to summon me anyway, so it's not super time-wise, but also I haven't been above the street too much, only with the night cruise. And I feel a little bit strange now after 3 years of living in the Undercity, prowling around in broad daylight.
Well, you've gone to the surface occasionally when you've had to with either a reclamation squad or some other guild mission has forced you above ground, but this is one of the times that you've done so without impetus beyond a supervisor says this needs to be done. And even in this case, the supervisor kind of says this needs to be done.
And this isn't a nighttime pickup. So.
Right. Well, as you walk down, you cross in front of the booksellers. There's a goblin with a little cart of cheap-looking novels and a imp on a little desk at one corner of the block. As you walk by the storefront, your reflection catches your eyes, and I would like you to make me another wisdom saving throw.
Another 6.
You kind of stop and look at the reflection in the glass, and there's something about it that feels wrong, bad, different. You can't quite put your finger on what it is, and after a moment, instead of continuing to contemplate it, you move on, heading on up the street, past the booksellers. You pass a few late night restaurants, a bar, a nightclub that's just now starting to open its doors, and the sounds of people yelling and crying and screaming starting to filter through that open doorway that blazes with just this orange red light that just does not exist in the Undercity.
It reminds her of stuff she doesn't really want to think about, and she hurries past the nightclub.
You catch a slight whiff of brimstone as you go and immediately think back to a few family members that you haven't seen in a while. Almost immediately after you walk past the nightclub, you feel a little tug at the back of your mind, and an image of lightning striking earth filters into your conscious thoughts for just a second.
Well, I'm assuming that's Watcher. Would I interpret that as he found it?
It would make sense.
I question him back in images, basically like building dragon checkmark to see if that means he found it.
Your response is tree, nest, bed.
That sounds like yes. So I will hurry with purpose past that nightclub again
You immediately,
and head towards the other direction.
you immediately about face and hurry past the nightclub as this large shirtless man with just scars and tattoos covering his entire upper body steps out, looks over at you, nods, and then makes a coming in gesture at the door.
No, busy.
You quickly run past him and past the booksellers. The goblin is still like at her little cart. She's not even actually like trying to catch anyone's attention. She's sitting there reading. The imp is occasionally like saying stuff to her and eating like some weird looking reddish pink food that it's producing out of a small bag outside.
I mean, I know where the bookseller is because, sometimes I like to read to the zombies. So, I mean, I keep in mind where it's at and then continue on past.
So past the booksellers is a series of nondescript looking houses and storefronts that don't have anything to catch your attention or hold it for very long. The tailor looks interesting in that, hey, tailor, new clothes. But that's really about it until you find your way to where Watcher is and come upon this low single-story building. The architecture is similar in a lot of ways to the houses and storefronts on Barwon Hill, and that it has this sort of almost Gothic style look to it with a lot of heavy iron and thick windows. And as you stop and look out of it, you spot the pseudo dragon in a tree planted in the courtyard in front of this building, curled up in a little ball and watching you.
Is it in a bird's nest?
It's not in a bird's nest, but it has collected a bunch of like twigs and leaves and built itself like a little, almost like a nest. Just like patted the area that it's resting in.
I asked it in common if it would like to come in.
There's just a silence from it. It doesn't say yes, but it doesn't say no to you either. And as you're waiting for a response, you hear a very thin cry work its way through the air. Not like a scream or anything like this.
Okay. Well, I throw my cape back a little bit on that shoulder so the perch is available, and then I head up to the door.
Alright, so there's an iron gate between you and the door, but it swings open with a bit of a metal on metal sound. Going up to the doorway, are you knocking on it, or are you just going in?
I will knock, but I will knock kind of fast, like I'm panicked, and I'm going to try to get like a little teardrop going, which is I already don't feel good and a little haggard.
Okay. So you rapidly knock on the door, and there's a delay, and you can hear someone moving around, like the shuffling of feet, before the door opens, and a kind of youngish looking man, maybe 2-3 years older than you at most, with a shock of red hair and freckles across his face, opens the door and looks out. He's dressed in just a plain white overshirt and matching pants. He's like, I'm sorry, are you here to see someone tonight?
I'm I'm here because I'm supposed to live with someone, and then I found they were here, and I'm trying to set up a place with the inheritance, and I need to find my uncle.
I'm, I'm sorry.
And then she pushes past him at this point a little bit.
You're trying to kind of shoulder him out of the way, or wedge yourself into the doorway.
Like, like she's desperate to go in, and like she doesn't have a good, like she's not fully physically where she's at, like she's upset.
Go ahead and roll me deception.
Non-natural 20.
That's your second one of those.
And my second 6, so. But actually, those were with different numbers, so.
Okay. He kind of sighs and takes a step back, opens the doors up. Okay, come into the waiting room, and I will see what we can do for you. And he opens the door all the way, and leads you into a smallish room. Just off to one side, there's a couple chairs, a table. The furniture is like bolted to the ground so that it couldn't be picked up or thrown. So it takes a little bit of squeezing to like get between like the chair and the table. There's a couple other chairs along the wall. He sets you down at one of those and says, "Okay, now who are you here to see?"
Well, my mom's been gone a long time, and it was her brother that they said in the will for me to stay with, and she always used Dad's name. I went to go where the old address was, and the neighbors, and she's like, they were super mean, and they were like, well, if he's there, he's been there a long time. They're probably in the deepest, darkest, crazy spot they have. And then she like grabs his shoulders and she's crying.
Okay.
She's like, I think I would recognize him. I was 7 when I saw him last.
He kind of like takes your hand and physically removes it off of his arm. Are you like going to try and grab him? Or are you going to let him just like pull your hand off of him?
He could pull my hand off. She was just trying to like go in for like a weepy hug. She's
Okay.
kind of playing to her age with this one.
All right. He physically like takes your hand off of him and pushes it back towards you. He's being very careful and not to hurt you, but he's also being very insistent with his like, no, you're not touching me. No, you're not grabbing me.
Yeah,
So,
she just kind of looks down and she's like heaving a little bit, like she's still kind of crying. And she's like, "Can I look for him?"
I cannot let you wander the asylum. Stay here. I will go and get Dr. Cardot.
And
Okay.
and she nods.
Okay. He gives you like just a slight pat on the shoulder, not grasping or anything like that, just like a kind of a comforting gesture, and then leaves the room, and you can hear the door and behind him as he closes and locks it.
Mm-hmm.
And so you are left alone in this room.
Let's see. And the dragon stayed outside, right?
Yeah, he did not leave his little nest.
I will go over to the desk like I'm just leaning on it, but look and see what's on the desk in the area.
It's just like a thin metal desk. It's got enough heft to it to support like you leaning on it, but it's not enough weight to it that if someone tried to pull it up and hit anyone with it, that it would do any real damage.
And are there like sign-in books, maps, any key things? Like just kind of just like taking a cursory look, seeing what's around.
There's the table, there's the chairs, there's a stack of just penny novels in one corner.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the doorway that he locked. It's a solid wood door. There's no window on there or anything like that. And then there's a kind of a half window in one of the walls that looks like it's made to slide open for someone to open up and lean through and talk to other people between in the waiting room if they need to.
And so she's mostly just waiting at this time. She admits that the dragon probably would not have helped her cover very much, so.
Alright. So it takes about maybe 10 minutes for them to come back. You hear the handle of the door kind of turn and then stop and unlock it with a little clicking before it pushes open, and that same orderly opens the door. And this kind of chunky looking Videlkin, like he has some body weight to him, but he's not like, rolling off across the floor. Just a guy that spent a little too much time sitting at his desk and not near, and a little too little time exercising. Kind of walks in. His blue skin, faintly pearlescent. He has no real nose to speak of and no ears. But that's common of all Videlkin. And he kind of temples his fingers, and he's wearing the same basic, like, flat white outfit that the orderly was. He's like, yes. You needed to see a patient? Do you know when the patient was admitted?
I think at least 2 years ago. The will was maybe a little out of date.
Okay.
But he's my last family member.
Okay. We have a very strict policy when it comes to visitation hours because it is dangerous to be here when we are taking care of our patients. Some of our more violent ones that we keep in the lower chambers are currently having their meals, having their baths. So I cannot allow you into the asylum right now. We have visiting hours tomorrow. If you do not have a place to stay, we can put you in one of our suites for the night while we try to locate your relative. Is that okay?
I think that, well, I mean, the inheritance wasn't without a little bit of means, which is why I'm not so worried about who I'm with. I think I'll go about looking for a house for us because he will definitely need one if he's been here, or maybe a caretaker.
Oh, if your relative is here, we will have to keep him here. Unless someone has proven that they have been cured in our well, then it is safest that they stay here. We are doing great work, and many of the patients have been here for a while now. But many are getting better, and the treatments that we are developing with their help will someday hopefully help many others as well.
So you're saying there might be some delay while his treatment's finished?
It is entirely possible, child. I'm afraid that many times without very powerful corrective magics or surgeries that cause unfortunate amount of issues with health and personality that we do not have a lot of people released from here.
Then I suppose if there's no immediate preparations, I will take you up on your kind offer, Doctor.
So, please come in Cardot.
Cardot?
Cardot of the Senate Combine. So, he looks at the orderly and he nods. It's like, get her a secure room, but one of the more comfortable ones on the upper reaches. And the redheaded guy kind of nods and steps out of the way as the doctor leaves, and you can kind of see him going down the hallway towards another office. The orderly looks at you and he's like, okay, well, come on, let's get you into a safe place for the night. Have you eaten? We have some food left from our kitchen. There's not much, but I can get you something if you need it.
Oh, I stopped by the dispensaries on the way. I'm good for now.
He nods a bit and takes you down the hallway, and the upper level, the ground floor, is a long hallway with doors on either side, and it continues down, and then at the end it splits into a T section. He takes you down to the T section to the left, and then one more time so that you're heading back towards the front of the building on the side hallway, and there's a number of doors along just the one side of the wall, while there's outward facing windows on the other. At the far end of the hallway there is a like a portcullis gate that just swings wide, that's locked, and behind that is a set of stairs leading down. He takes you to one of the middle doors and opens it for you, and it opens into a very plain but fairly comfortable looking room, maybe 15 by 20 foot, maybe a little bit larger. It has a bed along one wall, a desk and a chair. Everything is just like the furniture in the waiting room. Everything is bolted down so that you can't pick it up or move it or anything like that. There's no covers or anything like that on the bed. It's literally just a mat on a couple planks of wood with a pillow on it. And he holds the door open for you and says, please, go in. We will let you out in the morning and get you some food and have you see the logs. But for now, just rest and try and stay calm.
Okay. She sits on the bed and she hugs the little pillow thing and fiddles around in her bag like she's just looking for entertainment or something until he leaves.
He closes the door, and like the other doors, there's no real window. There is a slider at the upper level where someone can open it to look into the room, and there's a little tray at about the mid height on the door where it could open and a food plate can come through. He closes the door and you hear that familiar sound as it locks.
Okay. So what does the lock look like on the inside?
There is just a basic door handle with a keyed lock. It looks like a standard 4 or 5 pin lock.
Because she's pretty sure at this point that even if they believe her that's the uncle and she can make it to the room and identify her uncle, that she's not going to get him out of there with pure bluffing. So
not with rolling sixes. Though you keep on oscillating.
No, my bluffs were high.
Yeah.
And my direction sense. It's just the wisdom. not her best. Not her best. Okay, so the somewhat impetuous and unwise character is going to start fiddling with the sliders and the tumbler after doing a quick listen check to see if she still hears any footsteps.
Alright, go ahead and roll me perception.
And this is where I could have really used my little help. 5.
5? Okay, you press your ear to the door. Sounds like an empty hallway.
It does. It sounds like an empty hallway, so let's get started. So, so she fiddles with the bird wing sewn on the back, and along the bone, she pulls out her lockpick set and gets to work on the lock.
Okay. You're on the upper levels, so this is where they keep the less violent, less lock the door and not let them out of the room. But it is still a fairly decent lock. Go ahead and make me a lockpick roll.
And since I don't have specific tool proficiency, I would just use my dex with that, right?
It is your raw dexterity roll.
Non-natural 20. With a third different number. It's not my dice just repeating.
Okay, so you listen at the door and you don't hear anything. You take the tension rod and you carefully insert it into the opening on the door, and you take a little strip of metal and you reach back and you start poking around. And it takes you about 5 minutes of just working, trying to figure out, like, okay, did I get that pin? Did I get that pin? Did I get that pin? Before the handle like turns and you hear like a soft click as you unlock the door.
Okay, and I think back, was the guy at the front or any staff I saw wearing a uniform, or were they just wearing their regular clothes?
Everyone that you've seen in here so far was wearing a white orderly outfit.
Okay, so until I get a white orderly outfit, I'm going to take the sheet and drape it around me so I at least look white on my clothing.
Alright, go ahead and make me a disguise roll with disadvantage.
Disguise, would that be a deception, or what would that be?
You don't have a disguise? Yeah, go ahead and just roll deception, but with disadvantage.
Okay. $15.
Oh, okay. So you start to basically do like sheet ghost, but then like, no, that probably won't work. So you kind of pull it up and wrap it around yourself, so it looks less sheet ghost and more
Toga-ish.
Huh?
Toga.
Yeah, it's more toga-y. But I mean, if someone was just like looking without actually like trying to examine you, you could probably pass muster. It's kind of late at night. Everyone's a little groggy.
I mean, I'm gonna try to look for supplies or a better disguise as I go, but I'm not leaving the room without plausible, somewhat deniability here.
Okay.
So, I take the pillow and whatever other bedding and bundle them up in my arms. With my, my case is tucked kind of like towards the small of my back, so I just look a little bit more rotund than usual.
Kind of patting yourself out.
Instead of looking like I'm carrying extra stuff.
Okay, you pull the mattress off, wrap it around yourself, like.
No.
Okay.
No, my case.
Okay.
That's on my side. I just put it towards the back, and I'm holding like the pillow and the sheet, like I'm doing cleaning. And
okay.
I go ahead and open up the door.
All right. You look down left, the right. You see the iron bar gate, the stairway, the right-hand turn. There's no one there.
And the iron barred gate would be towards the main area again?
It's at the far end of the hallway. It's basically you go down like a giant T, and then you go up an I, and at the very far point is where the stairways down are.
Okay, so would that be through the portcullis?
Yeah, through the gateway.
Okay, well, time to send my mage hand ahead of me to start picking the gate while I walk around and keep an eye out for anything that looks like maybe a supplies closet or something, too.
Okay. So,
while I'm passing.
you create a spectral skeletal hand and send it down the hallway.
It looks a lot like my patron's hand, but it has like 2 extra joints. It's like a creepy elongated hand.
And it kind of starts like thump, 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 poking at the door to the gate. But it doesn't seem to be making any progress with unlocking it.
With the lockpicks?
Well, you're not an arcane trickster, so your mage hand spell's not really able to do stuff like that.
Okay, so I have.
But I mean, you're welcome to give it a shot if you want.
I'll let it have a shot at it.
All right, go ahead and roll me first. I want you to make a Arcana check with disadvantage because you're making a spell do something that it's not meant to do.
That's a 9.
9. Okay, and then make me a lockpick check.
Would that have my dexterity or not?
No.
Okay. 11.
11.
One of the dice.
So your hand kind of floats down to the gateway, and it sticks the tension bar in, and then it sticks one of the picks in, and then it sticks another one of the picks in, and another one of the picks in.
Come back, hand.
It's like, and it then floats back to you with like the last pick in its grip still.
I take that one. I'm like, okay, hand, go get the others.
It floats back and retrieves the rest of the lockpicks from the lock and carries them back to you.
Okay. So, do I see any supply closets or anything along my way?
It's basically just like a row of doors.
Mm-hmm.
All of them, except for the very last one before the gate, have the little slider on the front where you could look through or where you could serve food through. The last one is just a solid wooden door.
Okay. Is that one locked? I'd like to check the handle.
Okay. Yeah, it's locked.
Okay, I would like to unlock that one because, for one thing, that gives me a spot I could run back to and hide if I need to. So I'm going to try to unlock that.
All right. Now this one is a more secure lock, so go ahead and give me another roll.
9.
No. You kind of like. You thought maybe the hand had the right idea, so you grab two, you get 2 of the picks, and you kind of try and work in there, and you're like raking it back and forth. It's like it's not opening on you.
How tiny can I make my Eldritch Blast?
How tiny or how noticeable?
How non-noticeably tiny.
Not very.
Okay, then I will just try to unlock the gate next.
All right. Go ahead and make me another one.
6. I think I'm just going to have to spend some time on it and try to take 20 on the gate.
So, you take a little time, like, picking at, like, work, come on. And go ahead and roll me your perception.
A 1 plus 2, so I'm at 3.
You're like, come on. And you hear someone like, and you look up from the lock, and there's this kind of lanky-looking dude in orderly outfit with just like a 2-day beard and black hair, standing at the other side of the bars, crossing his arms and looking at you. So, I don't think you're supposed to be doing that, honey.
Probably not.
Are you a patient? I don't recognize you.
No, I'm trying to bust out a patient. 5 gold if you'll help me.
Roll persuasion.
Only a 9.
He kind of keeps his arms crossed and he looks at you and he says, how long have they been here?
I think at least 2 years.
What do you know about what happens here?
I get a bad vibe, but that's about it. I'm going into it a bit blind.
Have you met Cardon?
And that would be the doctor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Only briefly.
Seemed like an excited fellow to you?
He seemed very much like he was trying to convince himself of what he was saying.
He nods and he pulls a ring of keys off of his belt and clicks the lock open and holds the gate. I don't know what you're here for. Really don't want to, but I gotta warn you, this is not safe. Come on.
She nods and goes through.
He closes and locks the door behind him. He's so, the doctor told you that he's working on experimental cures, I'm assuming. He tells everyone that.
Yeah, he didn't make it sound like it would do much for the patients that were currently here.
He leads the way down the spiraling staircase, and it goes down a single story to the underground. And while you could faintly hear like cries and screaming above ground, once you're down the stairs, it's a lot more audible. The moaning and the sounds of people banging on doors trying to shake something loose.
Mm-hmm.
He leads you to another set, down the stairs to another set of locked bars, which he unlocks.
Mm-hmm.
Holds them open for you, and then once you're through them, locks them again. You can tell that there's a lot of redundancy and security in this place.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a small, like, someone could sit at it and have a meal or read a book desk directly in front of the stairways down. So anyone sitting at that desk would see someone coming down the stairs. He walks over to the desk, puts the keys on it, pulls out a few stacks of papers and starts shuffling through them. So Cardon has this idea that perhaps it would be possible to, you know about how magic can summon a creature from other places, right?
Yes.
Okay. A lot of people don't know a lot about magic, but Cardot has this thought that maybe if he found some way to summon the things that made people sick and had them kill it, they would find a way to get better, having killed the thing that's making them sick and weak. So he's leafing through the papers.
Like an astral manifestation kind of idea.
In some cases, that's what comes out, yes.
Seems like it would be awful easy to summon something that's not what's making you sick, though.
Doesn't always help. There's not a huge success rate, but he keeps trying. That's what most of the people in here are locked up with.
Well, the bad part of the news is I do know a little bit about where he might be located, and it is supposed to be in one of the lowest levels.
No, this is the lowest level, honey. He kind of pulls out a stack of papers. You said 2 years ago?
At least would the term face not his own ring any bells to you? I think he may already be possessed.
You want tears. He sets down the papers and he sighs. And he
If it's any help, I think he'll be going to someone who may actually be able to help him. For real.
Tears is one of the first ones the doctor tried his thing on. He's still locked in there with it. I'm not a fighter, so I can't help you. But if I give you the key and you unlock that door, that thing's going to come out madder than a beast out of the Erectos.
Does it have sliders on the door? Can I get a couple ranged hits in, maybe?
You haven't been able to see these doors down here.
Well, I'm asking him.
Oh, he's like, there's no slider on the upper reaches, and the food we just slided through a slot on the floor. We don't want anyone, trying to reach through or sticking their fingers through or anything like that.
I tell him, well, maybe if I can get the creature excited, it'll reach through and I can pin it and do a little damage before I open up.
He reaches into one of the drawers and pulls out this wrought iron key and he hands it to you. He's like, okay, this key will open the cells down here. Do not open any cells except for the very last one at the end of this row. That's the one Tears is in. He's been in there about a year and a half with that thing now.
So my 2 years was a bit of a bluff, wasn't it, if he was the first one? Oh well.
You're not the first person we've had come here looking for someone who's gone missing. I mean, the Izzet and the Cynic are always recruiting people for tests. Especially the past couple weeks. Izzets have been hiring people in mass droves. They've even come in here a couple times. It's like, hey, do you have any patients that are safe enough to work with? So, I mean, they're definitely collecting people for something.
Well, I pull out the 5 gold.
He takes it, he counts up the Xeno. He nods, and he's like, look, I'm not doing this for the money.
I kind of get that.
Okay. So look, I'm trying to help people. The other orderlies are trying to help people. Cardot may be a bit of an arse, but I mean, if he's right, it could really make it a lot easier and faster to fix people. And a lot cheaper too. Not everyone can afford the Orzhov debt magic. He looks at the key. He's like, I'm going to lock the gate behind you.
Okay.
And I'm not a fighter, like I said. I'm not going to be able to come to your help if it goes bad, girl. Okay?
She nods and says she understands and says it seems like with the year and a half, if the guy's solution was going to save this guy, it already would have. But she wishes him and the doctor the best of luck with the other patients and then heads in.
Okay. So this hallway is as long as the one above it, going in the opposite direction. Basically, it's like the spoke on a T. So it's not a complicated maze or anything like that to run through. It just is a long walk past a lot of doors of people banging and screaming and rattling their cages, and you can see an eye or two trying to catch a glimpse at you as you walk by through the slits on the floor. He's like, hey, let me out. And then you hear just a screech from behind whoever it was that was whispering through their doorway, and the sound of struggling fighting.
Well, if the Mistress of the Grove doesn't feel like these people can be saved to be part of the guild, then she's not going to react to them right now. Because For one, it would jeopardize the mission.
Mhm.
And for two, what the heck would she do with them? She's 17 and she lives underground in a pump house. I mean, that's a little bit much for pets right now, you know?
In fairness, your roommate is fairly close to a pet.
I mean, it's kind of like having my own room. So, I mean, with the pet rock ish.
So the last door is like every other door before it, only there's no howling or screaming or sounds coming from there. It's just quiet. And as you approach it, all the other sounds seem to fall away and a stillness settles over the place.
Mm-hmm. Well, she kind of takes that as a sign that maybe the other patients have had to deal with the consequences of the door opening before, and it hasn't been great. But she will get down a little bit low, and she'll call out, "Tears, are you in there?"
Like, are you face against the ground, or are you just crouching down next to it?
Crouching down low. She's about 2.5 feet back.
But she can look through the slit? The little
If
servings?
she can, that would be good, yeah.
Okay. It is pitch black in there, with the exception of 2 pinpoints of coal bright orange eyes staring at her out of the darkness.
She will make a small, non-magical, like, little ball and roll it under the door with prestidigitation.
Okay, so you kind of warp reality to create this little semi-transparent sphere. It's just a ball, no like glowing lights or anything like that. And you kind of just like roll it, and it bounces a little as it goes through the slot and just vanishes into the darkness.
Well, I can't be sure if the orange eyes are him or not, because I don't know how much it's affected him.
They are not blinking. They're just hard, constant points of light staring at you.
So I will throw on my armor spell and then open the door.
Okay. What's up with your AC?
Let me do a quick check. I don't believe it really helps my AC that much. I get 5 temporary hit points, so...
You just lost... We just lost you. Hold on.
Oh, sorry. The mouse button.
Yeah, no worries.
At least it's on audio.
Oh, yeah. Plus, Chuck's got a guest star for a few seconds.
So let me go ahead and make sure that my audio settings are still... Yeah, it's not responding on here, so I should still be good. Okay.
So, what was your AC at now?
It gives me 5 temporary hit points, and if a creature hits me with a melee attack, they take 5 cold damage.
Armor of Agathis.
Yeah, so that puts me at, that kind of makes up for my earlier draining. That puts me at 12 hit points.
So you're actually up 1. Okay, so you cast a spell, and this kind of shadowy necromantic energy floods your body, and you feel this like sudden surge of energy, and the air around you gets slightly colder.
Mm-hmm.
You can even see your breath coming out for a few seconds before your whole body just feels cold.
See, it's like I'm the weird spirit. I'm like rolling the little ball to get their attention and making the whole room cold. I'm doing this a little bit backwards, I think.
Alright, so you cast the armor, and that doesn't require concentration as I recall. So, and then what were you going to do?
Go ahead and open the door.
Right. Do you insert the key, and it slides home with just an easy motion? You turn it, and there's just a click of unlock.
Okay, I will pull the door open wide and see what I see.
Okay, as you grip the door handle to pull it open, the door just slams open as something heavy impacts it. This spindly creature with coal bright eyes lunges through the doorway at you with long taloned fingers, jutting spikes from its skin, its elbow, its face is just this skull grin with sharp, long fangs, but no lips or nose or eyelids, with the bright eyes just staring up at you. And
can I also see tears, or
you don't see anything in the room.
so it could be that that's him possessed?
I mean, you're not sure. This thing is 3 foot tall.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I didn't actually get a species from anyone either.
Think halfling on meth with no lips or nose and spikes growing out of its skin.
I'm like, stop! I'm here to retrieve you.
It just and I need oh wait, no, that's just a stat. It feels like you're suddenly looking at everything through a fisheye lens.
Mm-hmm.
Like your vision just warps as it lunges at you, and we're going to go ahead and roll initiative now.
Okay. $15.
All right, you are going first then.
I would like to I've already used my spell because I did the armor.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to do probably a Eldritch Blast, but I'd like it to be considered non-lethal damage.
Okay. So it's right up close to you, so it's going to be a little difficult aiming it. Go ahead and make your attack roll with disadvantage.
Difficult, or I can just be like, tag, you're it.
Well, it's not standing still. It is
Okay.
And swiping at you with its talons.
17 with disadvantage.
Okay, that hits. Go ahead and roll damage.
Nine.
9 damage?
And I'm aiming non-lethal, like at the leg or something.
Yeah. Okay. 9 damage. So you conjure up this bolt of force and just slam it into the thing's chest, and it's like
Yeah, it starts to come out like the typical warlocky purple color, but it's got this little black thread through the middle of it.
Okay. It grips its chest, and you can see more spikes starting to sprout out of its arms and chest and shoulders, and it's and leaps at you with its gnashing long fangs trying to bite at you. 19, that is definitely
that would hit. Yeah.
Okay, and you take 4, 5, 6, 7 damage as it bites down onto your shoulder and starts savaging it.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to make a wisdom saving throw.
Okay. $16.
Okay. So it's grasping you and chewing at your shoulder, and you can feel the spikes starting to dig in, and your vision does that warp again, where before it was fisheye, it's now looking like you're looking through a convex lens, where everything is bent inwards.
And it would also take damage.
Oh yeah, how much damage does it take?
I believe 5.
5?
Okay. 5 cold damage.
5 cold. Okay. Alright, then it makes it your turn then.
Okay. And I still can't see into the room.
You can't see anything else into the room.
Okay. I'm going to Eldritch Blast it again. Do I need to do it at disadvantage again?
Yeah, it's still within 5 feet of you. And you're using that's a ranged attack.
10.
10? It kind of, you bring your hand up to blast it again, and it sees the hand, realizes what's happening, and drops down onto all fours and scuttles between your legs out into the hallway behind you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it's going to use half its moving through you, like it's difficult terrain, so it skitters along the floor and pops up behind you, like, takes a bite at your thigh. That's a 16.
That would hit.
And your armor was 1 hit point, so that's gone now. As long as you have the temporary hit points, it does the damage, or it does always do the damage? I can't remember.
Let me double check. Just while I have the hit points.
Okay, so yeah. It only gets a glancing blow. You feel a tooth catch on your thigh and cut it, like gashing it as you take 3 points of damage.
Okay, so I am at 2.
And then it kind of and turns and starts skittering down the hallway. It moves out of your attack range. You can make a melee attack against it as an attack of opportunity if you want.
I don't think it has to be melee in my case. 1 second.
You can only use a spell as an opportunity attack if you have the Warcaster feat, I believe.
Was it just Warcaster, or did the other one do it too? I have to look up Spell Slinger real quick.
No worries.
Actually, let me do that from D&D.
Wait, that's right. You have Spell Sniper. You should do... Wait, no, that's Crossbow. That's right. Never mind.
Okay. No, it's just about ignoring cover. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's looking pretty rough already. It's still smoking a little from the chest, and there's frost, like, coating its mouth from where your spell just basically froze its mouth at its bite. So you're going to let it go, or you're going to make the attack?
I'll go ahead and go for it with the sickle.
Alright, go ahead and make your attack roll. This will burn your reaction.
15.
15, that will land a hit. Go ahead and roll damage.
And my sickle does 1d4 minus 1. So it does 3 damage.
That's not bad. You pull the sickle from your belt, and as it's scanning away, you just like dig it into its shoulder and rake it across its back. Okay, it's your turn now. It's moved about maybe 10 feet away from you as it's heading down the hallway.
So I'm going to try to Eldritch Blast it.
Alright, you're not rolling at disadvantage now.
21 to hit.
21, that'll hit. Go ahead and roll your damage. Are you going non-lethal again?
Yes, I'm going for the other leg.
Okay.
4.
4?
Because I'm mostly trying to limit its movement until I know what's going on.
You basically just like slam the blast into it, and it's like crawling forward now. And let's see here, it's out of your melee range. It's going to take its action to dash, and then it's going to use its full movement speed to get all the way to the end of the hallway and start clawing at the bars, and you can hear the guy that lets you through yelling, it's like, "Get it back! Get it back!"
Okay, I'm going to move towards it and then shoot at it again.
Okay, go ahead and make your attack roll.
14.
14, that'll hit. Go ahead and roll damage.
And I'll go for one of its arms.
Okay.
But
You're going
wrong die.
non-lethal then?
Yes.
Okay.
9.
9. You like aim down carefully and just as you feel the energy rocket down your arm and out your hand, it just slams into the thing and spins it around and falls flat on its back, staring up at the ceiling.
First I'll glance in the room and see if I can see any. Actually, I'm gonna go approach the creature first.
All right. You walk down the hallway, and the guy.
Give him a thumbs up.
He has a club, and he's like holding it away at the sun.
I'm gonna.
Crap, I haven't seen it up close before.
I'm gonna take off my sheet and wrap it up and cast Spare the Dying on it.
Okay.
And then walk back to the room.
All right.
I'm breathing pretty heavy too, and I kind of nod at him, and I've got this 3-foot weird wrapped baby thing, and I'm walking back to the room.
Okay. It's still pitch black in there.
Uh-huh. I'm like, Tears, you in here?
Go ahead and make me a perception check.
Oh yeah, I'm great at those. 8.
You hear nothing.
Let's see. So, didn't really bring any light with me, but I will do some little motes with prestidigitation and step in to kind of look around.
So basically, you're just shooting off a couple sparks.
Yeah, kind of. Basically, kind of see if there's a spot the sparks aren't. Give me a good idea of the dimensions of the room, kind of thing.
Okay. So prestidigitation isn't really used to make light, but it can be used to make fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
So you essentially just create a sparkler effect that you toss out as it falls through the room, and you can see a figure kind of slumped against the back wall.
Okay, well, I'm gonna say, Tears, I've been sent to take you out of here to your new home, and I'm going to approach.
All right. As you step into the darkness, what you couldn't hear before, but you can hear now, is this very slow, ragged breathing.
So I'm gonna try to get him over my shoulder.
Okay, go ahead and make me a athletics roll.
Oh, super fun.
So you're doing a lot more physical stuff, which is a lot more challenging for you than Grigham did.
13.
He is like a rag doll on your shoulder. You just kind of lift them, and you're used to hauling limp bodies before, so this isn't much of an issue for you. You drag him out of the room and into the hallway. The hallway has light from a couple lanterns that are lit along it, and you get your first real good look at him, and he looks like a dark elf, but his ears don't come to nearly as fine a point. His hair is the same kind of platinum that the dark elf that you saw standing guard was, but with black streaks along it. And his eyes are open, and you can look at him looking down there, this kind of hollow purple gray. And his just entire appearance is rough and haggard, with scratches on him from the attacks of the creature as it just raked its claws across his body and scratched at him with the spines. Oh, and he's wearing very shabby pants and not much else.
I'll ask the orderly, hey, you maybe got a sack I can extra put around this creature just to...
The orderly, it has the door open, and as you turn back to look at him, you see like beating down at where the head was of the thing.
I carried it with me, remember?
Oh, you took it back with... Oh,
yeah,
okay.
baby style.
Oh, I thought you meant the... okay, yeah. He has the club ready. He's like, you can't let that thing out of here. It is madness.
Do I put it back in the room?
It will do nothing to get... It'll do anything it can to get out and get back to him. You have to kill it. I'll kill it.
She sighs heavy and says, we should probably still put it in the sack first. And
he frowns and looks around. It's like,
I guess it's in the sheet. Okay, so she will put her hand right between its eyes and do as short range and eldritch blast as she can.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and count this as a coup de grace. Go ahead and roll me like you scored a critical hit.
Which would be 2d10. Okay. Another d10 again, other than the percentile, but that's okay. I'll just use the percentile. 12.
12? You put your hand up to its face and just project that force, and there's like nothing for a second, and then boom, this hard detonation that blows your hand back, and the body just like arches without a head, flails around for a few seconds, and then starts to melt down into this writhing mass of worms that quickly disperse, wiggling their way into crevices within the room.
I'm going to keep blasting the floor.
Okay, so you scorch mark the ground, but like the worms are gone after like literal seconds. By the time you're like, oh, I should shoot those, they're gone. And he's the orderly still holding the club is looking at you and the worms and stuff. Fuck. That could be bad. That could be real bad.
Do we need to clean up the cells and play musical chairs with people?
I'll figure something out. Get him out of here. Don't come back here.
Okay,
Don't bring him back here.
if you need to contact me for any reason, write the old pump house.
Old pump house, right, yeah.
Oh.
I'm Argon.
Thank you, Argon. I'm Ingrid Corvidae. I'll come back if I would be of any use here.
Okay, stay safe. Get him out of here quick.
And she hightails him out of there as best she can.
Okay, go ahead and make me another athletics roll because you're going upstairs with a half unconscious dude on your shoulder.
Okay. 12.
Okay, it is...
About as best as could be.
It's not fun, but again, it's not like you haven't done this before with literal dead bodies.
Mm-hmm.
You haul him up the stairs, and he's trying to, like, get a little bit more life into him. And you can feel, like, where you're holding him, his skin kind of ripples and undulates for a couple seconds every now and then. You haul him up the stairs, and he's starting to have, like, a little more, it's more he's leaning on you than you're carrying him. And you take him down the hallway, you take the right turn, and then the next right turn to the main hallway out. And go ahead and roll me stealth, and I will roll stealth for Tears.
Non-natural 20.
Nice. He rolled a 14, so he's he is awake and he's looking at you with those purple gray eyes that he understands that y'all are leaving. So he's still breathing like raggedly. So as y'all start entering into the area where y'all are going to be going by where the orderlies are resting, he just stops breathing entirely. Like not holding his breath, just exhale.
And I cast a spare the dying on him to be safe.
Oh, he's still conscious. He's just not breathing anymore as he follows you to the doorway.
And I'm like, keep it together. Really quiet, and I proceed forward.
Okay, so you go up to the main entryway and turn the handle and locked.
Okay, well, I'm going to try to pick the lock. I'm going to balance where I have like him wedged between the wall and me, and then try to pick the lock.
He leans up against the wall. He is still not breathing in.
So go ahead and roll lock picking.
Yep.
Non-natural 20.
Those ducks are good for you. It's like you
well, they're either really good or really bad, usually, it seems.
You take out the pick, and you stick it in the handle, and you twist it, and you pick. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and click open. The door swings, and you can see 2 pale moons looking down at you like eyes from the sky.
Okay, we're back at the street.
Well, you're in the courtyard now.
At the courtyard. Okay, so I'm going to call over the dragon.
Watcher, like, lifts its head and flutters its wings a little and gives you a mental image of an apple covered in blood and honey before fluttering over to you.
And I am not quite sure how to interpret that one, but she's like, he's not a kid, but he's definitely hurt. And we got to get him out to the mistress. But we're gonna need to stop and get him refreshment and look for one of the agents from cleanup to help us. So I want to get him to like a closed street food vendor.
Mm-hmm.
And is he breathing again?
Like when you're outside, and once you've closed the door, as y'all are heading towards the gate, it's not like he takes a sudden gasp of breath, but and like he's been holding his breath, but he just starts.
So she wants to find a place not too far away where she can have him sit down a minute and her.
Okay.
For a rest and see if Watcher can find one of the other cleanup crews.
Okay.
People.
So you're going to send Watcher to look for a reclamation crew then?
Yeah, just to requisition us a zombie or something to help.
Okay. The reclamation crews only really come by if there's been like a death.
Mm-hmm.
So you may not have much luck finding one of those. But we'll get to that in a second. You take Tears through the gate and onto the street, and the second he is off of the grounds, he kind of straightens up a bit more. He's still leaning on you, but he's not like about to fall over if you moved your support away. He's still doing that very shallow, haggard breathing of...
Can we do a short rest while Watcher's looking?
Okay, the nearest place, you were wanting to find some place to sit down that had some food. The nearest place that you saw that had food was probably that imp vendor next to the booksellers, or the nightclub that y'all passed.
Let's go with the booksellers.
Okay. As you trudge up the street, you approach Barrow and Hill booksellers. The goblin and her cart is gone, but the imp is still sitting on his like little wicker, sitting at his little desk with a wicker basket next to him, and he's like chewing on a bit of that pinkish red meat that he was eating earlier. He's like, hi, how may I help you? You want to buy food, drink, party supplies?
1 serving of food and 2 hearty and non-alcoholic drinks, please.
Okay, I can get you that for you. Just one moment. He kind of pulls the lid off of the basket, and he's like half his body weight is in it as he's digging through it. And he pulls out 2 mason jars of this reddish clear liquid, and he holds them out to you.
Okay.
And he said, food. Okay. And then he pulls a bag out of the basket that like he was eating out of earlier when you walked by, and he hands it out to you. That will be 25 zip.
Okay.
So he takes the coins from you, he shuffles them into the bottom of the basket and puts the lid back on, and he's like, enjoy, please. Come by Siente again anytime.
And I catch my breath for a little bit since I'm not doing too great myself, and try to get him to stop and drink a little bit. And since he seems like really dry and hoarse and exhausted, and that thing's probably been eating his food.
So you find like a little bench, and you sit tears down next to you at it. Unscrew the mason jars, and it smells like a kind of a cherry juice plum wine. Did you keep the toga?
No, the creature was...
Oh, right. Yeah, you wrapped it up in it. Okay. So, yeah, you probably left that in for the warmification. So anyway,
I probably burned it while I was...
You were shooting it with a lot of Eldritch Blast.
Yes.
Anyway, it's this kind of cherry plum wine, it smells like. And he takes a couple sips, and it's like the first sip is like a huge gulp, and the next sips are slower and slower. And as you're sitting next to him, you notice the purplish dusk of his skin starting to lighten in little rippling motions, especially the parts of him that are sitting close to you. When you open the bag, it's this kind of pulpy, pinkish red. Like, it has the consistency of Play-Doh, but it smells like a chopped beef almost.
Mm-hmm.
And are you going to have any of that, or are you just giving it to him?
We're splitting it because I don't want him to eat too much when I think like he's been having the creature eat his food for a while, and I don't want to hurt his stomach.
So, it tastes like horrible. It's not like the mushroom consistency that you've gotten so used to.
Mm-hmm.
It's really more like someone took meat, didn't pull the bones out of it, beat it to a pulp with a hammer, and then tossed in like cornstarch or something to thicken it a bit. So it's this raw bone shard filled thing that is just absolutely unpleasant to eat, and actually kind of lacerates your throat a little bit. Like, even one bite will do a point of damage to you.
Oh, that's not good. But hopefully my short rest will regain some of that.
So you're taking a short rest,
and I think I'm like taking the food back away from him. It's like just have the drink.
He's like,
okay, so I lost 1 to that, but then I regained 10 hit points from the short rest. So I am back to my 11.
All right, not bad.
So that. Oh wait, no, my max is 7 right now, right?
Yeah, your max is 7. I
am back to 7 until I get a long rest.
Oh man, that grew almost dropped you, didn't it?
Yeah. So I am back at 7 until I get a long rest, and hopefully he's feeling a little bit better. And have I heard anything from Watcher?
Watcher is sending you like images of cave mouths and streams and little frolicking bunnies.
Okay, and so I send him a picture of the tunnel that we came out. That should be really close to the bookseller, since we're about where we came out, and then a picture of the grove that I'm taking him through the tunnel and back. So.
Okay. Watcher's response is just this kind of pale shade of green, and then a second later it flutters in and lands on your shoulder, it seems like curling its tail around your neck and like gently patting the stinger against your throat as Watcher settles back down into its perch.
Okay, I make sure that he's leaning on the opposite shoulder of Watcher.
Tears is standing on his own at this point.
Good. And
he finished his, and then he was eyeing yours, and like the second you weren't guarding your cup, he started drinking it as well. So you do have 2 empty mason jars now, though.
Okay, 2 empty jars. And I tell him, okay, we're going below.
So you go ahead and make me one final survival check to see how well you navigate him into the Undercity.
Natural 20.
Of course it was.
I'm doing these with 15, 16s, and 18. And so it's like it's all different numbers. But then I'm actually rolling like actual ones too. So
yeah.
Yes, it's not too unbalanced.
So you effortlessly guide him back through the branching tunnel that led you here to your mistress's mansion. And as you approach, the elf that had been standing guard is gone. In his place is a very large crow, the insectoid like people watching you approach, holding a spear in hand. You can hear the chittering as you come in.
So what are they saying?
Oh, that's right, you speak crow. It says, "Send the copy in. I have much to teach you."
And she responds back. She can't quite make the wing rubbing sound, but she actually uses prestidigitation to aid her sounds a bit, so she sounds a bit more insect-like. And thanks them for guarding the mistress, and brings the guy in.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and call it at this.
She will also ask for expenses back later.
You're getting some pretty expensive training here. In short order, Tears is seen to a room to begin his instruction, and you are informed that the mistress is very pleased that you have accomplished your task in such a short time, and knowing just how valuable you are now, has instructed that you be trained in more protective measures. So you will spend the next 4 weeks training with this Crow warrior in how to use armor and shields.
Yay!
And we're going to go ahead and call it at that. So I hope you all enjoyed Madhouse. This was a one-shot for Zizaba and I to get her character established in the world setting and give y'all a little bit of idea of what Ingrid is like. Feel free to share this video with your friends, especially if you think they may be interested or would like to become subscribers or patrons. The more people we have contributing, the easier it is for us to do things like more one-shots and get our stream working better. So really appreciate it. Thank you.
And we're dragging emoji conversations. That will also be a benefit.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, congratulations. You are now level 2, Ingrid.
Yay!
All right. Thank y'all again. We hope y'all have a nice one.